Retake number 394. Morning everyone, it's Audrey, Stitchy Witch 42. Today is Thursday, the 18th of February. I am trying to re-record the video I recorded on February 1st. I usually record my videos on my cell phone, and I've been having issues for the last couple of months with my cell phone. Well, the video I recorded on the 1st, I tried to put 3 clips together on the cell phone app Filmorigo. When it was all said and done, according to Filmorigo, I had a 45-minute video. When I went to preview that video, after 28 minutes, the screen went black and stayed black for the remaining 17 minutes. When I went through my phone, I couldn't find those other 2 clips. When I went through Filmorigo, I couldn't find those other 2 clips. I have no idea what happened. So, I am trying to re-record today on February 18th from the notes that I had for the video from February 1st, which is now my lost video. So, morning everyone. I've got finishes that I'm going to show you. These are all from my notes. My plan is that when I get this video recorded, and I've already tried to do this a couple of different times this morning, technical issues. We will see what happens. But when I get done with this one, I'm planning on recording another video today. I have no idea when either one of these will get uploaded because we currently have no internet connections, but I'll get more into that in the second video. So, I'm going to start right into it with the finishes from the lost video. I have been working on patterns from AnnaLee Waite Designs Hooray for Halloween. There's 8 patterns in this package, and I had stitched 3 of them. I'd stitched the Happy Halloween, the pumpkin face, and the owl. I stitched them on 28 count flax linen. So I had watched Helen D do a tutorial on how to do a cube finish on styrofoam, and I thought for the Happy Halloween, because it came out much bigger than I thought it would, that would be an excellent way for me to finish it off. So I asked Mark if he had any styrofoam out in his shop, and sure enough he did. He has stuff out in his shop. I always ask him first because he has stuff out in his shop. So he brought in this huge piece of styrofoam and he goes, "How big of a piece do you need?" I was ironing the fabric and I was trying to use my ruler and figure out how big a piece of styrofoam I needed, and Mark watched me for a good couple of minutes with this look on his face like I had a second head growing out of my shoulders. And finally he goes, "Audrey, how much of the fabric around your design do you want to see on the finished piece?" And I said, "Well, I want a 1/2 inch border around the design." And he shooed me out of the way. Walked over, took his ruler, made 2 measurements, walked out into the shop, and a few minutes later he came back in with a piece of styrofoam. I can't measure. I can't measure. So I took the piece of styrofoam he gave me, I went upstairs, and I thought back to the discussion I had with Helen. How much fabric do I need beside the border to make sure that I have enough to go around this styrofoam cube? And she said 1.5 inches. So I cut out the design, that piece of fabric, so I had 1.5 inch border all the way around the design. Then I cut out the same size of my backing material. And I thought this backing material was perfect for this. I've had this fabric for almost 3 years. I had bought it to use as a lining for a project bag, and we know that I don't make project bags anymore because measuring and issues and sewing and stuff. but I thought this fabric was perfect because it matched part of the design on the front of it. So this is my cube finish for Happy Halloween. I have to bring it back a little bit. And I love the way this looks. Like Helen said, when you finish it, you have to make a little ribbon to go around it. So I cut the fabric for this, and I love the fact that I almost perfectly lined up the markings on it. But when I cut that, okay, I measured all the way around this way, and I ended up cutting probably twice as much material as I needed to do that because of measuring. That's okay, I cut off the extra. It wasn't a big deal. And then I looked through the ribbons that I had and I found this one. It's got Boo and a ghost, and I thought it just made a nice little accent on the top of this. I love the way this looks. Thank you very much, Helen, for doing your tutorial. This was so easy to do and I loved it. Okay, so I had also stitched two other pieces. I had stitched the pumpkin face and I had stitched the owl. And I wanted to do them similar to how they're finished on here. So I got smart this time. I'm not going to measure anything. I'm going to ask Mark to do it. And I said, I need 2 pieces of foam core cut out so that my design will be right at the edges of the foam core. So he did that for me. From those 2 pieces of foam core, I was able to cut out 4 pieces of mat board to use for the backing behind the design. And I used the same fabric as I used on the cube finish. Well, I got them done and I realized the way I wanted to display them, I really needed to have a 3rd one stitched. So I went back and I looked at the pattern again, and I had originally thought of stitching either the moon or the bat, but since they're also square like the owl and the pumpkin, I decided to go for the skeleton here. And if you look at the pattern, he's supposed to be holding a pumpkin in his hand. I went upstairs, I looked at the fabrics that I had for stitching, and I came across a piece of BeStitchMe's This is Halloween. It is this beautiful 32 count linen. It is orange with splashes of black across it, and I thought that would be perfect for my skeleton. But I didn't want to stitch that little pumpkin. I thought, I have a charm upstairs, kind of blingy skull and crossbones charm, and I thought, would that fit in place of the pumpkin? And it did. So I stitched my skeleton on the BeStitchMe fabric, and then I'm looking at that fabric and I'm realizing the orange on it is a different orange than this, and they're not really going to go together. So I looked for a different backing fabric. And in my stash upstairs, I found this fabric that kind of looks like smoky gray and black clouds. And I thought, what a perfect contrast for the skeleton. So I finished it. Cut the mat board, cut the foam core, got it all mounted. Now, how am I going to put this in my display the way I want to? Downstairs in my kitchen, I had bamboo barbecue skewers. And I asked Mark to paint 3 of them black for me. I asked him to cut a piece of styrofoam, since I knew he had it, to fit in the bottom of my glass flower frog that I'd got. And this is my finish for the other 3 pieces from that pattern. So bring it up close. There is the owl, the pumpkin face, and the skeleton with his little blingy skull and crossbones. I love the way this works. I just took the bamboo skewers and pushed them up into the foam core after I had them finished, and then push them down into the styrofoam and the flour fog. I think this is really a cute idea. And it made me think of what else I could use this for. But I'll get into that later. Or maybe the next video, because who knows. So that was 4 finishes. When I got done with those, I decided I had done enough of that pattern. This is going to be a pass the stash whenever you get to see this video. This is going to be a pass the stash. I'm not going to put an end date yet because I don't know when it's going to get uploaded. No internet connection. If you're interested in it, use the word hooray, because the pattern is called Hooray for Halloween. Use the word hooray in a comment and I'll know you're interested. The 5th finish that I wanted to show you from the lost video was my circle dragon. This was the pattern that Vicki StitchNButton had sent to me. She sent me a piece of 18 count white Aida with it, and she sent me the variegated DMC 4522, the hunter green, the plum purple, earthy brown colors. Just gorgeous floss. And I stitched it. I just stitched the silhouette of the dragon. So when I was ironing the fabric, getting ready to finish this and the other ones, I also ironed the fabric for my dragon. On my kitchen table, and I'm sitting here in the kitchen, I have this big metal candle stand. It's a huge metal ring, and it's got 3 legs that come out that have plates on them that you can put smaller candles on, and then in the center it holds this heavy glass plate, and you can put a 5-ring or a 5-wick candle on there, or a vase with candles, or it has lots of options. I've done lots of things with it. But I wondered if that plate would be big enough for me to use as a template for the circle, because I wanted to finish my dragon as a candle mat. So I got it ironed, I laid it out on the table, I took that big plate and I laid it over the top of the dragon, and it was big enough, barely. So I flipped that fabric over, positioned the plate back over it. On the back of the Aida, with my graphite pencil, I drew a circle, telling myself to remember to add 1/4 of an inch when I cut it out. Well, from when I went upstairs and finished this one, and then I finished the owl and the pumpkin, and then of course I had to stitch the skeleton, and then I had to finish the skeleton, it was 3 days before I got around to working on finishing my dragon. I am blonde by nature. Sometimes it's more obvious than others. I was upstairs and I'm cutting out the dragon, and I was just a little bit over halfway around cutting it out when I realized I was cutting it out on the line I had drawn. I did not add that 1/4 inch. I said words. I said lots of words. They weren't nice words, and I won't repeat them here, but I said words. And I thought, okay, there's space. We'll see what happens. We'll hope for the best, right? So I finished cutting that out. I cut out the batting to go in the center of it, and then I cut out the fabric that I wanted to use for the back of it. This is the back of my candle mat. When I cut out the back, I cut it out as a rectangular shape, cut it in half, sewed it back together, and I left a 2-inch gap in the middle here so that I could turn it inside out. Then, because I've already had issues with it, I made sure I checked, I double checked, I triple checked to make sure that when I had them laid together to sew them, that I had the backing face side up, the dragon on top of the backing face side down, and then the batting. And I sewed my circle, and I turned it inside out. And sure enough, when I sewed it, part of the dragon was sewn into that seam because I didn't add that 1/4 inch allowance. This is my circle dragon silhouette. From here to here is where it's sewn into the seam. And honestly, if you didn't know that, if you didn't look at the sides and see that, that was the perfect spot for it to be sewn into the seams, because with all the other detail going on in here, if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know. I am so tickled with how this turned out. I think this is so gorgeous, and I don't know if you can tell the coloring of that floss, but I love the way this turned out. So thank you, Vicki. I enjoyed stitching this. I know stitching it as a silhouette was not how it was supposed to be stitched, but it's how I stitched it. And I loved it, and I love the way it turned out. Okay, 5 finishes, fully finished objects. So after that, I decided that I get to start something new. And there is a pattern that I've been wanting to stitch ever since niecey Lynn showed it, and that's her Broom Hair Don't Care. So I had gotten a copy of the pattern when she posted it, and then I had to decide what to stitch it on. So I was going through my stash of aidas and linens trying to find something to use, and I finally came across this fabric. This is a piece of fabric that had been gifted to me 2.5 years ago from CaraLea, and I was looking at it, and the oranges on there and the purples on there looked stormy to me. And I thought, since it's a witch and she's got broom hair and her hair's flying about all over the place, something stormy would be kind of fun to stitch on. So I picked out all my DMC colors. I decided for her hair, because I wanted her to be blonde, I was going to see if I had any fancy floss that I could use, and I had a little bit of gassed Wheatfield. Not enough to do all of her hair, so I picked 2 complementary blondish colors, and this is Broom Hair. I didn't put the Don't Care on there, but I think she turned out so cute, so very, very cute. I decided that what I want to do to finish her is I'm just going to use the same fabric as the backing, but I'm going to make a drawstring bag out of her. Sorry, coughing. Need coffee. I'm going to use another part of this fabric to make a drawstring bag out of her, but I thought I would like to get like a 2-inch black fringe to put around the sides and the bottom of the bag, and I haven't got that yet, nor do I have fabric to line the inside of it with, but my plans is to make a little bag out of this. If it's big enough to carry my mask and stuff, because I have a plastic shield that I wear when I'm at work, it might be what I start using to take my shield with me to work. So, 6 finishes. What else did I work on? Well, I decided to be a good little girl and touch some of my older pieces. So I went back and I pulled out Cuore Baticuore, Halloween and cross stitch. I think I told you a while back that I had made a mistake on her dress somewhere. If you look at the pattern, it's got a relief design in there of flowers. And I know that I had made a mistake in there and it was going to affect the way that relief looked. I must have picked it out because I can't see it anymore. But this is where I am at with her. I think I probably stitched about the bottom inch of the design on her skirt. And I think that she is looking quite lovely. So I got some time in with her. I also, this is one of my project bags. This is one that I made, the Vonna style envelope. It has one of my pieces of stitching on the front of it. That's what I had originally bought that other fabric for, was the lining of a bag like this. But I don't make them anymore, so. Anyway, the last piece that I worked on, that I was going to share on the lost video, was Plum St Sampler's Harvest Keeper. And this is where I'm at with this. I finished these 3 leaves here. I came down and I did a little bit more work on the bee skep, and then I came over from this leaf, and this right here is the top of one of the acorns on the border. So got some good progress on that. I was very happy, and I think that that is everything that I had planned to show you on my lost video from February 1st. So, I am going to end this video here. This is going to be a giveaway whenever this video posts. If you're interested in it, say hooray, or hooray for Halloween, because that's the name of the title. Please be over 18, please be a subscriber, please like the video, I'll mail anywhere, all the stuff, all the stuff, all the stuff. So, I'm going to end this video. I am going to record another one to replace the one that I would have done earlier in this week and talk some more about cross stitch. So until we meet again, my friends, live long and stitch on. Bye-bye.